They don't do it. They just remain very obstinate, act like they own the office like it's their private property, or act like they are some chief in some village where they are the be it or say it, or and they basically are running public office like they are private property. That kind of thinking is what I want us to depart from, where people see that I go into office only to serve the public, only not for my private benefit. Even if it sounds like this is opulence, I will not do it. That's the signal that we should abandon. Because if you do so, people have the belief in leadership that you are there for me, especially in these times of austerity where you'd want people to believe that we are in it together. We are working hard for the collective good so that we can get to where we want to get to with the thinking that we are all people for the good of the state.
Well, as for me, I have only one question in my mind. I don't know whether the First Lady had a business or anything like that before she became First Lady. I don't know. I don't know whether she had an occupation or anything that she has been doing as First Lady, to make any kind of income. So as far as I'm aware, this would be literally the only revenue she has been receiving. As far as I'm aware, I don't know whether that is the actual case. But I'm not aware of any other remuneration that she would have been receiving apart from this allowance. So if she's able to refund all of it for, almost 5 years worth of it, if she's able to refund it all, then does that mean that that money is not actually needed by First Ladies? Does that give a certain indication of that? It's part of our conversation. Let's bring in our guest. Oliver Barker-Vomawor is a researcher at the University of Cambridge Faculty of Law. And Martin Kwebu is a private legal practitioner, prominent Ghanaian lawyer. They join us via Zoom and telephone. Gentlemen, good morning.
Yes, good morning. How are you doing?
All right, I think I want to start with you, Mr. Kwebu, mainly because I think perhaps we ought to establish a certain legal baseline here. So the First Lady is refunding allowances that were paid through an administrative process to her for a period of 5 years or so, a process that has existed since the beginning of the Fourth Republic, as we are made to understand. She is refunding it. Is this an this is, by the way, as a result of the public outcry at attempts to regularize that administrative process? First of all, the fact that there was an attempt to regularize it, does that mean that the process was in any way illegal to this point?
So far, so it would appear. Yes, so it would appear because, the Article 71 of the Constitution does not expressly mention the spouses of the first and second gentlemen. Okay, that's the president and the vice. So to the extent that they've added, they've in practice been paying these spouses these allowances, it appears that it is illegal. The fact that it started for Kwame Nkrumah is no answer. In law, there are a number of Supreme Court decisions that will tell you that the fact that something has gone on for centuries doesn't mean that it's legal. It may well be illegal.
So that's your take on it, that it was actually an illegal payment that was being given out to the First and Second Lady, even though it was being made through the presidency as an administrative payment.
Yes, so it would appear because, you see, why would you pay the spouses when Article 71 doesn't particularly mention so? Okay? So I've heard arguments that gardeners are paid, chauffeurs are paid. Yes, because they are performing a service for the ex-president and all that. But the spouses is married. So I don't know why by virtue of the marriage alone you would pay the spouses.
Yes, but Mr. Kwebu, just by way of clarification here, how does a decision to pay allowances to spouses of, the president and the vice president, now these allowances that are paid to them, become illegal or seem illegal?
Now, listen, please, the question again.
I am asking that this is the payment of allowances.
Yes.
Now, when it started, it was not because they were Article 71 office holders, but a decision was taken to pay allowances to the wife of the president and the wife of the vice president, and wives of past heads of state and presidents. And I am asking, how does this become illegal or seem illegal?
Good. Okay. So the same constitution, when you go to the chapter on finance, makes it clear that you pay money out of the consolidated fund to public officers. You pay money out of the consolidated fund to public officers based upon law. So, Winston, show me which law has stipulated that spouses of the president and the vice president be paid money from the consolidated fund. And remember, the consolidated fund is no child's play. It's provided for in the Constitution. That is our kitty. So before you draw from the kitty, you see how you have to go appropriation. You take an appropriation bill to Parliament, and it's passed as a law. That's how come you take money from the consolidated fund. So the question is that which law mandates these various administrations over the years to go draw money from the consolidated fund for these spouses? I stand to be educated.
And while you stand to be educated, we have seen that past first ladies and second ladies have been paid allowances. Those whose husbands have died have also been paid allowances. Are you saying all of these are illegal, and thus, based on your understanding of the law, we should not have done that?
Oh, definitely, at least so far. Until the Supreme Court decides otherwise, it appears it is illegal. Let's quickly bring in this point. When you Google, you will see, oh, yes, the Americans have been given allowances while the spouses are in office. But there is an express law to that effect. And when you donate clothing to the president's wife and all that, when they leave office, the clothing are given to a state institution. So they are put in museums and all that. That's not what we have here. So they have, in one word, they have an express law to that extent or to that effect. But here, I'm struggling to find one until the Supreme Court says, yes, that law is embedded in the Constitution.
I want to bring in Mr. Baka Vomawo at this point. There is an interesting dynamic going on here. So the committee made a recommendation, the committee that was supposed to look into Article 71 holders' remuneration, made a recommendation bringing in two people who are not Article 71 holders, but recommending that they be paid. This recommendation was accepted by the presidency and then passed on to Parliament for approval. Am I right?
It's approved by Parliament.
Good. Okay. It was approved by Parliament. Sorry. Now, the presidency accepted Parliament's approval.
Yes.
Now, the presidency, of course, is headed by the president. His wife now says, no, I'm not going to take this money. Are we looking at a situation where the president may have approved something that his wife doesn't agree with?
So I think, what a question. But first of all, let's have something in perspective. Is that when the committee that is set up under Article 71 is set up by the president for the purposes of determining the allowances of all persons listed under Article 71. Now, there's only one single committee. When it comes out with this report, the president is supposed to approve the allowances envisaged for Parliament. And Parliament is supposed to approve the allowances envisaged for the president. Now, when Parliament is doing this approval, it is only capable of approving allowances that the law mandates it or allows it to approve. Now, if it is purporting to approve anything outside of what the law has provided for, the Parliament itself is acting unconstitutionally. So that's the first step here. So Parliament cannot purport to approve something that it did not even have the power to do in the first place. So there's been no approval, even though we are throwing the word about, that it's incapable of approval. And that's the kind of, I think that's the kind of argument Martin is making about the original legality of it. Because it's also about the context in which the money was being paid and the justification extended for it. So one of the arguments I have made have been two. You can either consider that the payments were purportedly being made under Article 71, obvious legality in the beginning, or that the funds were being drawn down on monies which were given to the Office of Government Machinery, which includes the Office of the President. Then in that case, we need to consider whether when the President is making those allowances, it is making so under law. The Presidential Office Act does not list offices of the Vice President, the Office of the First Lady and Second Lady as part of the presidential office. So on what basis are those allowances being made? I've made a point in the past that whether you're construing it as allowances or salaries as they intended it to be, law only allows that to be made under three circumstances. One, for persons who are elected, are either of the two spouses elected? Two, when they have been appointed to an office, have they been so appointed? And three, when they have been recruited, have they been recruited to that office? I think that's where we need to start the conversation from, and that shows the obvious illegality of it. Now, whether or not the First Lady is disagreeing with the President, I think the bigger question is that, well, the President did not have authority to make those payments in the first place. Right. So she is recognizing that she's supposed to refund the money to the public kitty, which she is doing now. It is unfortunate that she uses the language she employs there. It's almost as if, well, I was doing you a favor in the beginning and you guys are being petulant and talking, and so I'm giving the money in some sense of anger. No, I think the most proper thing to do is that, having been advised by my lawyers about the impropriety of the payments that I have received for X number of years, I have taken the decision to refund them. That then engenders this sort of trust and an awareness that perhaps things were made under my blind side, and because they've been done for so long, I did not appreciate enough the illegality of the practice. Right. And irrespective of whether or not the payment came from the Office of the President, I am doing the right thing.
Okay.
That is what I think the failing is here.
Right. I would like to hear both of you on this one now. The fact that the First Lady has made a decision to refund the money does not change the fact that Parliament approved the payments. So, in essence, Parliament has approved a certain legal arrangement between First and Second Ladies and the government of Ghana. Parliament has, in essence, by approving this payment, made them employees. So, do we now not have existing a legal relationship between the government of Ghana and the First and Second Lady, the positions of First and Second Lady? So whether money is refunded or not, is there not a remaining employer-employee relationship which has obligations on both sides?
I'm willing to take this first, the Martin can come in.
Sure.
First of all, I think the point needs to be clarified. Parliament did not approve it because it's legally impossible to approve the money. If Parliament had acted under an Act of Parliament, then we can talk about existing legal relations. But because Parliament purports to do something which it cannot do, no effect is created in law. That's the legal position. Now, if it had acted under an Act of Parliament to establish that payments be made to the persons, then the context in which the payment is being made needs to be clarified. If it is called a salary, then it means that the persons who are assuming that office the office has been transformed into a public office. And in that case, the conditions of assessing that public office have to be made clear. That, well, if the person is married to only one person, is it only the first wife? If the person who is married to the president or the vice president comes in, can they refuse to accept the office when they do not want to perform those functions? Because let's be mindful, a person is not bound to do anything. And if they are not bound to do anything, do we pay them regardless? And if you are paying them for whatever purpose, what are we asking them to do while they are being paid? So all those questions would have been properly clarified, and it cannot come through the back door as well it's being sought to do, or for whatever reasons, then also in that connection, what are we going to be asking for them? If they're underperforming in the office, can we sack them? Can we ask them to audit the performances of their office? Can we ask them to declare the assets? So are we transforming them into public office holders, and under what conditions? Those are the kind of questions we would have to be asking. But if we are saying that allowances and not salaries are supposed to be paid for administration of an office of a vice president, of a first lady, then that question extends beyond the first lady herself. That there could be individuals employed in there who are doing work related to office of the first lady, where the first lady can decide that I have no interest in this and I'm going to bed. You have decided to employ public servants to do work in connection with that office. So this is, we need to take our time and do it much more broadly and decide whether this is something that we need to fund at the state, and then we can put in mechanisms for public accountability.
Mr. Pebu, on the same issue.
Okay. Now, this is how we should start. Yes, and I think Oliver also referred to it. The beginning point is that, Kojo, you mentioned that has there not been an employer-employee relationship? I say no. No, because in the Constitution, so here I'm talking about Article 195. It is the president who appoints persons to public offices. So the first question is that, what has the first lady, or in which forum were they appointed? Have they been appointed? So the first has to be an appointment before Parliament would embark on approving emolument. So if there's no appointment into a public office, you cannot say you are approving emolument, and so we would say that the approval of the emolument then means that Parliament has constituted these two persons into public officers. No. If Parliament wants to create a public office, sure, the Constitution, Article 190, says that Parliament may prescribe. You see, 191D. It says such other public services as Parliament may by law prescribe. So as far as I'm aware, there has not been such a prior prescription that there should be a public service known as maybe Office of the First Lady and Second Lady and their staff, blah, 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 before we go on. So quite clearly, we are in a legal conundrum about this parliamentary approval.
Would you agree with Oliver that, in fact, Parliament has, done nothing? Their approval amounts to nothing because of the same factors that you have raised?
Yes, to a large extent. That's the way we would see it, until once again the Supreme Court decides otherwise. Because, at every step of this argument, I like to remind ourselves that, the wise men in the Supreme Court, they have the final say. But so far, as a citizen, it's clear to me that this approval doesn't make it legal. In law, there's this common saying that you cannot put something on nothing. Yes. So if it's void, you cannot put something on nothing. It will just fall apart. You see. So it's about time we did away with these payments. And if you read the NTM report, same page 64, thereabout, you see that the committee makes it clear that in all of their consultations, one thing that ran through the views of all the consultees was that there is so much inequality, and unfairness in the pay structure in the public service. You see, and they were talking in the context of the former presidents, MPs, and so on, that the public is unhappy about this thing. And I'm surprised that the committee, after going through all of this, and it's not just one page, as you read along, you see them, even I think page 1 or 2, they refer to this inequality and unfairness. And at the end of the day, they had they were able to overlook this and even say, let's enhance the salary from the grade of deputy minister to cabinet minister. For me, it's shocking, it's baffling to me. After you've heard citizens tell you, at all levels that, look, we are not happy about this thing. We are not happy about this thing. You could ignore it and go and ask for an enhancement. It's really baffling, to say the least.
Right. Now let's talk about the fundamental debate here. Much as we may argue about the process through which the authorities sought to regularize these payments, the question still remains: should first and second ladies be paid in some form at all?
Okay, I think I should go ahead.
Yes, please.
Yes, you see, to the extent that practically we see that they are helping the president, okay, to execute some of his functions. And sometimes for a function that the president is invited to, if he's unable to make it and the first lady goes, often citizens are very happy. They will say, oh, the president couldn't come, but he has sent his wife. And, and it's as good, okay? Yes, so there is a recognition that they are doing something, but is the extent, this equation, do you know that by even pegging it, saying cabinet minister, implicitly, okay, notionally, what they are telling us is that, oh, the first lady has the rank of a cabinet minister. You see, then it begins to see. Tomorrow, we don't know what next they will bring. Yes, so comparing to other jurisdictions, there could be some payment, but we should stop this equating to deputy minister now. You see, a deputy minister for some decades, we are now going to cabinet minister. We don't know what will come tomorrow. Okay, yeah, so there should be some small payment, and then it'll be transparent.
Right. So you believe that some form of payment should happen, but this is because you believe they perform public duties. Are they obliged to perform these duties? If, for instance, a president comes into office with a wife who is, say, a doctor working in another country, just for example, is she obliged to leave her job and then perform certain duties in Ghana as the wife of the president? Is there an obligation?
Legally, not on the books, not on the statute books, but it will be part of the practicalities of the marital life that she or he will be in. Because your spouse is the president, so it's expected that you be home, you attend to certain functions and all that. So practically, they are forced to, even if you find that they are not interested. And let's begin to make room for spouses that will not be interested one bit in coming to help their spouses in the public office. Yes, that's going to happen as long as you remain human. Okay? Yes.
But Mr. Kwebu, so if your husband is president and people come there, they come to visit, there are a few things you have to do. Now, these things that you're doing, of course, in the office of the president, there are persons employed to do a lot of these things. But let's say you are doing it. The state takes care of the president's household by way of whatever he eats and drinks, and the president is also paid, even though we take care of everything of his, tax-free. Why should we add the wife, even if it's an allowance?
Well, so ideally, I'm just being practical by saying we should give them. In my heart of hearts, yes, I would have just said, let's not do it. In actual fact, what do you call it? Considering that we're a developing country, and Winston, there's this thing we don't largely mention, but the truth of the matter is that, you remember President Kufuor once said that, look, when you become president, people bring gifts. Wow. Yes. Look, practically, companies fall over themselves to make gifts to the first family, and it's so much. Look at the contracts that are signed. Look, practical, let's not play ostrich. Let's be very plain. Contracts that are signed, as far as I'm aware, look, you often hear in the corridors of power, oh, this contract belongs to the first lady, this one belongs to the second lady, this one belongs to Mr. X.
But that's something we should not encourage.
Plain. Let's be very plain. And you know what? Those are huge contracts running into millions of dollars. Let's be very plain with ourselves. we've not mentioned any specific names, but I'm saying over the years, I work. So you will hear things from the corridors of power. This contract belongs to Mr. X. This contract belongs to Mrs. Y. You know the millions that are made. So when the committee sought to enhance the emoluments, my first thought was that, well, these people, are they naive? Are they naive? Because millions of dollars run through people say, somebody needs a contract. You say that when you see Mrs. X is very powerful in a certain administration. And it's true. Let's not run. Let's be very plain on this matter.
Mr. Kwebu,
and if Mrs. X leads you, you will get that contract. And you think Mrs. X leads you and you take all the profit from the contract? No. Those are huge sums of money.
Yeah, but Mr. Kwebu, what you are describing is corruption. It's corruption.
Not. This business. This business so far. When you say corruption, it has to be specific. I haven't said if influence a certain public officer to this.
But you did say that if the person leads you, you will get the contract. That is influence.
Let's not conclude. Because I'm a lawyer, I have to look for specific ingredients of. So, meaning that the person didn't qualify, or just because this senior member in the administration or a spouse led, that's why it was. Until we get those facts that the contractor didn't qualify. Look, take the road contract, okay? Roads, millions of dollars, okay? You'll find that there are a lot of companies that qualify. But sometimes you need to know somebody. That's what I'm saying. That one, that per se, you cannot say is corruption until you begin to go into the real decent details. So I think that those up there, Winston and Kojo, I think they should understand that we walking down here, we hear those things, and we hear they make millions of dollars, okay? And it didn't start today. It's been like that for decades. And so when you come and you are fighting over 30,000, 40,000, then it begins to look like, oh, come on, I mean, is there no limit to the greed?
Right.
That is the point.
Let's bring in Oliver on this one. And I'm intrigued by the fact that the First Lady is not simply rejecting the decision to pay her a salary, but she's also refunding all the allowances, the administratively paid allowances that she has received since she became First Lady. Almost a million Ghana cedis. And she's refunding it all. Now, I was just saying earlier that bearing in mind, and I'm happy to be corrected, it's just that I don't have any knowledge of any business that the First Lady was, engaged in before she became First Lady or during her term as First Lady. I have no knowledge of any such business. But in spite of this, she is able to refund almost 1 million Ghana cedis. Does this suggest that perhaps in her capacity as First Lady, she doesn't really need this money? And no First Lady would need it. If one who doesn't have any other source of income is able to refund almost 1 million cedis, then perhaps this idea of paying them money is unnecessary. What are your thoughts on that?
It's a very dicey question. I mean, I think one of my friends who's a lecturer at the University of Ghana was talking about how the money is being talked about would take 14 years and 8 months on his university lecturer salary to be able to raise. That's how much we're talking about. But I also want to put in perspective that it is completely false and inaccurate to think that this is the totality of the courtesy extended by the state to the First Lady. Every time the First Lady travels with the president, he's entitled to per diem allowances. I do not think that unless we're given a breakdown, the monies received are part of those allowances. And the fact that we're choosing to call it allowances is sort of an euphemism that hides the real truth of the fact that this was intended as salaries, because there are other conditions that are extended and courtesies which are extended to her office, which we do not capture. And so that's what we are talking about. And the fact that the statement she releases is entitled Article 71 refers to the fact that the payments were made in connection with Article 71. So these were her own words. So that's the first point. The second point is something that you talk about as to what she was doing. And we have seen this consistently with Lodina Mahama Foundation. Now we have Rebecca Foundation. We see First Ladies spring up and create foundations from nowhere with zero track record, with no presumption that they can perform whatever roles they set for themselves, because we don't have a charities commission that is auditing the work of these proposed foundations. And you have situations where government institutions, state institutions, are donating money helter-skelter to these foundations. For instance, GMPC gave money to Rebecca Foundation. So these are without any proper basis and no competitive framework. When monies are given it to the foundation. I've talked about the fact that in the Mahama Ford case, if that Ford had been given to the Lordina Mahama Foundation, would have all kept quiet, because that is what it has become a vehicle for. Monies which are intended to carry favors with the executive, then are sent to a foundation. And these are questions we are not asking enough, because the framework for having that conversation dispassionately has not been put in place. So that's my concern. Now let's talk about somebody coming into the office. One of the things we make an assumption about is once you become First Lady, you have to do these things. But it's not always been so. Satya Nkrumah had no foundation. She wasn't doing that. Of course, when you're in the office, there are certain courtesies. If even outside of executive life, if somebody invites you and the person is going to dinner with their wife, you then invite your wife along. Even if you are married, your partner, you invite them. It's just a question of courtesy. So the president can decide to attend or not attend with. Boris Johnson attend so many functions without any power. You go to Europe, the American norm where the First Lady is projected as a darling of the Republic, it's not the same thing that happens in Europe. I don't know how many people know Angela Merkel's spouse, and she had been in office for so many years. And in Ghana, it used to be so for so many years. Nobody knows of Buzier's wife. It was when Kunedu came into the role as head of state, spouse of the head of state, with the 31st December Women's Movement, significantly transformed that role and the public visibility of her as a person. So there was somebody's standard that, you remember when Kufuor was elected, a lot of people were talking about Theresa in the same context. And in so many ways, it was emphasized that she had no intention of taking such a grandiose role in public life. She wanted to be much more private. So let's just not assume that once you come into the role, then you have to necessarily perform all these functions. A lot of people attend public functions, because it is nice. But beyond that, nobody is saying that go around and drill boreholes. You choose to do that as yourself. And you have done that in the context of the foundation that you have created for yourself. Now, once you do that, you do not become a ward of the state. And I think it's already unfair to expect that, well, I want to do that, and so the state must pay me. But I want to take the conversation back to the report of the Tier 1 report. Because when you read the justification and reasons, there's a what I call the false scientificity that they're trying to project. And then at the end of the day, they put numbers there that do not connect with all the things they're saying. First of all, they say that one of the things they are looking at in making this determination is Ghana beyond aid. And I am wondering to myself, what criteria can you extract from Ghana beyond aid that informs the way in which you give money to certain people? Secondly, they say in their report that one of the things that influenced them was the recurring issue with respect to spouses of former presidents, was the rumor that some former first ladies struggle to survive in foreign lands. This is the justification they give.
Sorry, can you say that again? The line got a bit funny.
There was some rumor.
Yes,
in the course of the consultation, a recurring issue with respect to spouses of former presidents was the rumor that some former first ladies struggle to survive in foreign lands.
Right.
Their words, not mine.
Right.
Now, okay. Under the Fourth Republic, which former spouse lives in a foreign land? Secondly, we are saying that we are extending monies to them on the basis that some former first ladies struggle to survive in foreign lands. This is a justification as to why payments are being made. There's a lot to dissect here. And so when I reflect back to the question we're asking Martin as to, do you approve of this payment? One of the things I have said is that, listen, there's a global conversation about the fact that there's gender inequality in pay for equal work, but then people being paid less. In certain countries, we understand that the disparity is almost 30%, that women earn 7 cents on every 10 cents the man makes. In Ghana, we don't have any data of gender disparity. Now, if we want to have that conversation rigorously, and we want to use this as some conversation elevation pitch, they say that, listen, in Ghana, other countries have not taken the lead in recognizing the toll of homework, the work women provide or the spouse provides while the president is in office. And we want to do something different. We want it connected to a broader systemic issue of the work that women do in our society. Then we can have that conversation in a proper framework that reinforces everyone in the state. Outside of that, we are just continuing to enrich the political class at our expense. And it connects to what you were saying, that ability to just issue a check. Well, I don't know whether you're going to do it by check, but just say that I'm refunding almost 1 million Ghana cedis on a spare within less than 24 hours of public being interested in the conversation. It's a lot. This is the concept that a lot of us will not be able to do. So this is kind of the context in which I think we need to broadly have that conversation.
Right. Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for these contributions and helping to steer this conversation. We're going to hear from Winston and Raymond in a moment, but first, let's take these messages. We'll be back after these.
We believe in the promise of your talent. We believe in your zeal to succeed. We believe in the power of your imagination. We see your imaginations coming to life. Work your way up. Leave the push to us. We've got you covered because we've seen humanity through it all in over 175 years. We know you will make it. Be inspired by the future. Imagine it and live it. At Old Mutual, we support you with total insurance solutions for individuals and corporate organizations. Let's help you achieve your financial dreams with our tailor-made pension plans. Old Mutual, over 175 years of doing greater things.
Myself and Kweku grew up together. We were always talking about vacations and exploring some part of the world, but I never expected it to be so soon. Until he gave me a phone call yesterday and was like, "Charlie, I dey go chill for Dubai this August too." I thought it was one of his jokes, so I asked, but you go fit afford exploring Dubai? Then he replied, "Oh yeah, Adansi Travels is making it possible. So now I can explore Dubai at a very moderate fee." It's your time to be part of this exciting trip to Dubai from 8th August 2021. Experience 8 fun-filled days exploring Dubai with Kwame Eugene for only 8,000 Ghana cedis because it's Adansi Travels 8 years anniversary. Enjoy the safety and comfort of Emirates Airline, the luxury of a 4-star hotel, a stress-free Dubai visa, and peace of mind as Adansi handles all travel arrangements for you. Now that's the power of 8. Book your spot now with just 800 cedis deposit and pay the rest in bit. Visit www.adansitravels.com or call 0595 500 817 to book now. Adansi Travels. Fuel life's beauty.
Why do you allow coughs, cold, and flu to ruin your happiness? You need Summerlin cough syrup. Summerlin cough syrup will relieve you and your family from coughs, cold, and flu. Summerlin offers a whole range that provide relief for the entire family. Insist on your Summerlin in pharmacies and licensed chemical shops. Summerlin cough syrup from Danex Itin Starwin PLC. If symptoms persist after 48 hours, consult a physician. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Nana, Yen Control. Jumia presents Celebrate Your Everyday. It's Jumia's 9th anniversary and we are celebrating with amazing specials. Enjoy up to 50% discount on your favorite brands. Jumia Day for you and Kasa. Download the Jumia app. Jumia, your everyday delivered.
Hi folks, there are many things to love about Ghana.
I love my market. Yes, oh yeah, look.
Hey, stop. My paddy Ghana de jump.
And now, there is one more. Your favorite Munchie Milk Shortcake is now made in Ghana. Ibiwana own. Munch into happiness. This advert is FDA approved.